Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby, and this video is going to show you everything that you need to know about the fantastic map changes that are coming up in 9.0 to the maps that you already know and love. First up, we are going to be looking at Pearl River, and you'll immediately see that the cap circle is in a completely different place. Previously it was over here, now it is here. It is completely open, which means that just in the same way as that you could get shot over here, while you were capping, you can still be shot in the new cap circle. Zooming out all the way so you can see all the map, here's the cap circle that we were just talking about. The enemy's cap circle is over here, and you'll be very interested to see new ways through the middle of the map. Yes, that's right, they have finally opened up the middle of Pearl River. So the whole of the southern part of the map is completely unchanged and doesn't really play out remarkably. However, you will indeed find great changes if you use the southern route to be able to enter the enemy's base. As soon as you get around the corner, the first time I saw it, I was gobsmacked. The enemy's base is now right here. As soon as you get through the south, you are entering the enemy's base, which has been moved from previously around here. It is very much like the base towards the north, that it is completely open, and it is going to be very open fire to any position that the enemy is to take surrounding it. If, like me, you strongly advocated taking the north in the pre-9.0 version of Pearl River, then don't worry, because the 9.0 combat in the north is not going to be changed until you look this way and then you go, oh wait, it really is going to be changed. Because there is a path that you can use to get through to the center of the map from the north. That's right, no longer will the bridge be a complete choke point, as you will be able to flank around and be able to shoot down at the northern part of the map. And any of the enemies who tried to make this as boring as they could by camping and shooting people as they went over the bridge, you're going to be ambushed to hell now from people who want to be more aggressive and push over the middle. We can see that there's also a second route that you're able to take. This route is going to be very open. It's going to also be a very short route to the enemy base, and I do expect the heavy tanks to be making pushes along here. There are some opportunities for hard cover, especially from artillery, but more or less, when you actually have to make a push, you're going to make yourself very open to artillery if you're still spotted. There's not one individual pass to use at the middle of the map. You do have a second option. There are also some fantastic pushes here that you could use to get some camera rating and be able to spot the enemies who are camping in their base. This area here is likely to be a rather big kill zone, as it is flat, and the enemies who do make it through the middle of the map are going to have to be very aggressive in their approach to cover this distance to be able to get in the cover towards the enemy cap circle. Overall, I think these are some fantastic changes to Pearl River. I'm very impressed, and opening up a whole new part of the map really will change the gameplay. One thing that I previously found was that if you chose to go north or if you chose to go south, you were completely disjointed from the other fight. Now, if you feel that you haven't met anyone in the north because they've wanted to camp back, you have extra opportunities to flank around, both for either side, and be able to put pressure on people who want to play a more campy role. Also, if you want to directly attack the enemy base, or come back to defend your own, you're going to be able to do so much more quickly than was previously possible. Anyway, this was Pearl River. Let's move along and take a look at the changes to Severogorsk. So now we are looking at Severogorsk, and yes, that's right, the cap circles have been moved. We can now see that the northern cap circle has been moved from this part of the map straight into the center. There is very little cover in it apart from this rock. Interestingly though, this rock is not included within the cap circle, and that means that if you do hide behind it, you're not going to be able to kite people around the rock and still remaining capping, which is very frustrating in a one-on-one situation. As an example, maybe a 1390 is capping and you're in an E100, you would have no opportunity to be able to stop him from capping if this rock was more, say, over here in the center, as the 1390 could just keep going round and round the rock, kiting you all day and capping out. Because it is towards the edge of the cap circle, that is not possible, as you can force the enemy 1390 around the rock and then outside the cap circle. He can draw it if he wants, but he could always do that. Interestingly, the east of this map has been completely changed. Yes, that's right, you might be going, oh wait, where's the hill? And that's because the hill has been completely flattened out. And this is going to mean that there's ample opportunity for you to be able to take maybe the center part of the map, and also for you to attack the west and not get shot from the east. One thing that I noticed on Severogorsk, it was all about the crossfire. The west would always shoot across the east, and the east on top of the hill would always shoot across the center and the west. Now that's no longer possible, as there are these rocky outcrops that stop you from shooting across. Of course, there are breaks in the cover that you're going to be able to take advantage of to shoot across at people who aren't in cover, and also for them to be able to shoot on you while you're advancing. They've included quite a few interesting locations such as this. There's going to be opportunities for you to shoot through. And really, this whole fight is going to be very much less linear. There's many more routes to take to be able to shoot your enemies, whereas previously it was a one linear pass with people fighting on either side of the hill. Once you've made it through, no longer are you going to have a rush of blood and have to run down a slope as quickly as you can. You'll end up having to cross this terrain, which in my opinion looks quite tricky to be able to cross without taking shots. There are some opportunities for cover, however, and you'll notice the enemy's base has been moved to a more central location from the position which it was in over there. The center of this map should be a lot more passable now because the enemies to the east and the west do not have that height advantage they had, and they won't be able to shoot as easily into you. What that means is the center of the map is going to be a more viable option for a competitive player to be able to advance into the enemy's base. Again, the west has been completely changed. We can see these rocky outcrops provide almost complete cover from anywhere else on the map. Previously, there was very sporadic cover, and you would have to be very careful and use it very creatively to be able to avoid fire from the enemy. Now, the artillery shouldn't be able to get you, and there are even awesome opportunities such as this, where you're going to be able to go hull down and dominate your enemies. I think the changes on Severogorsk are really good. I personally didn't have any problems with this map as it was previously, but a lot of people have told me that they felt that the game sort of played out the same way every time because of the linearity of the map. This western pass will still be very linear. As you can see, there's only one route to take, and I do expect tank destroyers and heavy tanks to get on hull down locations and be able to weather the storm. For artillery players, I do expect them to go to the extremes of the west, both in the north and the south, and be able to take advantage of the heavy tanks and tank destroyers that will camp here, being very large targets, and we'll be able to start to dig them out. So artillery players on Severogorsk are going to be even more important than they previously were. Little bits of creativity on Severogorsk. Here we can see a bunker, and yeah, just hats off to Wargaming for adding little features in like this that really sort of bring the maps to life. There's also one more Easter egg that I'd like to point out, that in these garages is in fact a Sturmtiger. And yeah, I thought I'd like to show you this now that I do have this free camera mod working. Who knows, maybe this will be a tank that will be coming to you soon. Rock and roll. Sturmtiger, hey? Look at that caliber of a gun. I do hope they introduce this as like a tier 6 or tier 7 German premium tank. It would be simply awesome. Anyway, those were the changes on Severogorsk. Let's move along now, and we're going to be looking at Serene Coast. So now we're playing on Serene Coast. There have been quite a few changes to this map. Much in the style of 8.11 and Redshire, you can see that now Severogorsk Hill is no more. You'll remember in the very old version of Severogorsk that there was 2 extreme hills on either side. Then one was removed and one was left, and now that has been removed too. There's a lot more opportunity to get cover from the east. And if you've got excellent gun depression, there will be good opportunities to shoot down in the people who decide to go through this lower middle part of the map. This northern pass really favors gun depression, and I think the British tanks, American tanks, and Japanese tanks, especially the mediums, are going to dominate. There are also very interesting bush locations, such as this one, that you're going to be able to get good spots out of while remaining hidden from your opponents. I think that these changes will make light tanks on Serene Coast all the more enjoyable. And I really can't wait to get my Type 64 on this new map. Graphically, this game looks just simply incredible in 9.0. The foliage has never looked better, the mountains just look amazing. And the buildings do look impressive as well. So what you're going to find is that the eastern part of the map has been changed significantly. Previously, this ford that went over the water here was a lot more risky if you were in a heavy tank, that you could possibly drown in it. However, now it has been made more shallow, and it's also been made wider. What that means is that there's a much easier pass for you to be able to cross to avoid drowning. You can see here, even myself in this T-54 can go as far wide as that, and that provides you with much more opportunity to be able to pass over that ford safely. Because quite a few people were drowning up there, and it was rather devastating for your team balance if you were to lose a high-tier heavy tank there. This southern pass does have nice cover from the middle of the map, and there are rocky outcrops which do allow you cover from the artillery. All in all, I feel that both routes have been a more viable, progressive fight, and I think that's what Wargaming are starting to realize, is that they want to make the maps as free-flowing as possible, where hopefully the fights will progress. So we have one more map to look at. We're going to be looking at our final map, one of the oldest maps in the game, and one of the most infamous maps in the game, Malinovka. So Malinovka has undergone some changes. Very interestingly, this location has been created, which allows you to literally get cover from the east and also from the north and the west. So if you decide to be very, very aggressive, maybe in a light tank or a medium tank, you can be hella cheeky, and as long as you can try and avoid the artillery, you have somewhere to fall back from. For example, when you try and use this very, very aggressive push here in a light tank, you can fall back and actually feel like you're not going to instantly die. Also, previously, you would get murdered by everyone who would be up there or up there, being able to survive to fight another day. There have been quite a few dramatic changes to the hill on Malinovka. We can see there is a new rock here to hide behind if you do get caught out in the open, especially if you're playing the encounter game mode. The hill has been completely changed into a two-tiered approach. There's a lower hill, which still has some cover from the lower ground, but not quite as much. You'll definitely be at risk from getting shot from below the hill, although there are some very good bush locations and rocky outcrops such as this, which you could hide your lower plate on, to allow you to spot the people down below you, and if you've got good depression, also be able to get some good shots onto them. There's some hard cover on the hill. Heavy tank drivers and medium tank drivers rejoice. There's hard cover on the hill now to avoid artillery, and I expect a lot of people to try and compete to hide in here when there are multiple artilleries on the enemy team. This slope here is deceptive. It's quite hard to get up unless you've got a very powerful engine. And that really divides this upper route from the lower route on the hill. Of course, people who are above are going to be able to poke over and shoot down on people, which is an advantage. But still, you can use that lower route to flank around people who have maybe taken the windmill. Interestingly, there used to be a very deep ridge line that came out over here that I would use in my medium tanks. That is completely gone now. And you're going to have to be a lot more creative with your cover. And in fact, if the enemies manage to poke from over here on the ridge, you're going to be completely caught out of position if you stay up here, unless you can use your camo rating to avoid being spotted. The distance between the edge of the map and the windmill has been significantly increased. We will definitely still see heavy tanks and medium tanks using this windmill to avoid fire from the enemy. So the hill on Malinovka has been completely changed. This is going to make the encounter especially interesting, as the hill really was the focus of the fight. One thing I also nearly forgot to mention is the fact that a hill has been added right here. No longer would the people engaging in these bushes be fighting with the people engaged in these bushes over here. This hill effectively stops all that completely, and it divides the combat up. As we can clearly see from this position, it is no longer efficient to engage the people on the mid-ridge. And effectively, you're going to be shooting at people who arrive only over here. Previously, you would actually be able to shoot people much deeper into the forest. This lip has prevented that. They have noticed this as an overpowered location, and it's a good prevention for that overpowered location. One thing I should also mention is that this forest over here has been thinned out, and they have also given it opportunities to find cover from the enemy, such as these rocky outcrops here. This is going to be lovely if you have been spotted to avoid instantly dying from the artillery. And I've noticed that if you knock down this tree, it can position itself so you can have very good camera rating to also still spot up onto the hill. All in all, I think these changes are absolutely fantastic for the game. I would liken the changes in 9.0 to the changes in 8.11, where basically, in my opinion, they fixed Redshire and they fixed Erlenberg, two of the most broken maps in the game they completely fixed. Now, I think that these changes they're making in 9.0 are not fixing maps that, in my opinion, are broken. What they're doing is they're improving upon them. And really, the maps in World of Tanks, in my opinion, are absolutely fantastic. It makes the battle play out completely differently. And I love the way that I feel that they're making the maps more progressive. they're changing what I would call crunch points or choke points into points where I feel that the battle will still gravitate towards, but I feel like it'll be more progressive. And I think that's something that's very wise for Wargaming to do, to try and figure out how they can remove overpowered locations, positions which were just getting obliterated from positions because they couldn't progress the fight, and try and add in ways to allow people to be able to continue advancing and play World of Tanks more aggressively. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this preview of the map changes in 9.0. If you liked it or it's been useful to you, please consider rating it down below. I'd really appreciate it and it really helps me out. And let me know what you think about the map changes in the comments below. Do you agree with me that the changes seem to be geared towards making the maps more progressive? Or maybe you've got a completely different opinion. I've got loads of other 9.0 videos that you can check out if you want to know everything about the patch. And think about subscribing to the channel. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic. And hopefully I'll see you soon.